does he have to do with this?
Let anything, you know what I'm talking about. Let anything. Nah, I don't have to say it right now. Don't worry about it. I don't got to say it up here. Let anything happen. And I'm going to show you and him. Bet.
In shape, 145.
Yeah.
In shape. You know what I mean? So this is different from a Crawford coming up to 168, but we know his walk around weight is probably 170, 180.
The fight that I couldn't believe, that was too insane and honestly just baffling to think would be a real fight in 2025, reminds you that combat sports are the craziest sports on the planet.
Chaos erupted at the press conference for the Gervonta Davis vs. Jake Paul showdown, turning what was meant to be routine promotional hype into a full-blown confrontation. Davis snapped when questioned about choosing Paul over higher-ranked opponents. Meanwhile, Paul capitalized on the tension, mocking Davis's background and bringing up personal controversies until moderators were forced to step in.
Box, and truly when people run back this press conference, all the shit talk, all the fun, they're gonna be like, wow, this kid really is doing something monumental in the sport, and he's actually insane boxer, and I'm gonna show that this guy who's been doing it his whole life has been doing it wrong his whole life.
What'd you say, Tank?
He said he gonna outbox me. Whoop-de-doo.
The one thing, when you have a fight of this magnitude, especially with Jake, because his appeal has been global. For you, Tank, do you think this is one of those fights where now all of a sudden you can show your boxing skills on a global scale to maybe people who weren't interested in boxing? All of a sudden they say, well, who is this guy?
Yeah, it's actually like, you know, now that I'm looking at it now, it's just like, I don't know, probably.
From the start, the exchange was anything but friendly. Standing at 6 feet 1 inch, Paul towered over the 5 feet 5 inches Davis, a visual reminder of the size gap that has dominated pre-fight discussions. Paul used this disparity as promotional ammunition, claiming he would use his reach and height to keep Davis at bay. Davis, a lightweight champion used to facing taller opponents, countered by emphasizing his trademark speed, promising that the size difference would mean nothing once the action began. One of the key talking points has been the stark size difference between the two fighters. Many analysts and media commentators have called the matchup unfair, even a clown show. Davis, an undefeated lightweight champion, is facing a social media personality-turned-boxer who naturally fights at much heavier weights. The fight is officially classified as an exhibition, not a professional title bout, which only fuels the debate over its legitimacy.
The fight, but yeah. That was that. This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds, and Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best. So, there's a height disparity there of some 8 inches. And once again, this is Jake Paul showing total disrespect to boxing, in my opinion. Once again, continued to pimp out the sport for his own financial ends. And worse still, the powers that be in boxing allowing him to get away with it and facilitating this utter bullshit. And meanwhile, what's even worse about this is that meanwhile, the WBA lightweight title that Tank Davis should be defending against Lamont Roach in a rematch,
Jake Paul thrives on spectacle and provocation, and this press conference was designed for viral moments. From clown props to heated shoving and legal jabs, the event felt more like a reality show showdown than a traditional boxing presser. Reports described the scene as sound and fury, signifying nothing, offering more spectacle than substance.
That Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be, because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fighter. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years. So it's a weird spot to be in for him, for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nakisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real possibility.
Keith Thurman highlighted the irony in how critics of Gervonta Davis actually helped boost his popularity. Those who constantly bash Davis's performances are the same ones who never miss his fights. Thurman argued that even negative attention fuels Davis's fame, their complaints make him trend, keeping his name in headlines. The more they try to bring him down, the more they raise his profile.
Not happy with Tank. First off, don't watch Tank. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? You support it, then what you doing? You can't not support and support at the same time, right? So if you're a boxing purist, then this fight with Roach is really more for you. It's going to be more up your alley, If you just like all entertainment, all fights, all hypes, all everything, then you're going to want to tune in to the Tank and Paul show there, because that's all for entertainment. What is it? For entertainment purposes only, right? It's just say like somewhere in the small print of the promotion. For entertainment, don't do this at home, kids. So fine.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. For entertainment purposes only, So, it's money-making purposes only.
Stephen A. Smith voiced strong disapproval of the recent trend of mismatched exhibition bouts, including Paul versus Mike Tyson, calling them disappointing and disrespectful to boxing. He urged Jake Paul to face legitimate competition rather than retired athletes or aging stars. Still, Smith acknowledged Paul's promotional genius and the attention he brings to the sport. He praised Davis for his impressive record and professionalism, particularly after the controversial majority draw against Lamont Roach in March. Smith said Davis's immediate willingness to accept a rematch
is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Beterbiev, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about...
Smith went even further, ranking Gervonta "Tank" Davis among the world's top 3 boxers, praising his power, skill, and knockout ability. He argued that Davis, a proven world champion, shouldn't risk his legacy by facing an inexperienced opponent like Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer. According to Smith, the fight is far beneath Davis's level and could tarnish his reputation. Rolando "Raleigh" Romero views Paul vs. Davis on Netflix as a major draw for younger U.S. audiences. He predicts that while Canelo vs. Crawford will captivate Mexican and Latin American fans, the Paul-Davis exhibition will attract a larger stateside audience, especially among viewers under 20. Romero believes both events expand boxing's overall reach, a win for the sport, even though he considers Canelo vs. Crawford the superior matchup in sporting terms.
He chose that over fighting with me. I'm the best fighter in the sport. I've been telling him that. He called cap on it. So if he won't call cap and say I'm not who
WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson issued a sharp warning to Davis amid the hype surrounding the Paul fight. Stevenson called the exhibition disrespectful to boxing, arguing that if Davis truly wanted to prove his credibility, he should face a legitimate contender, like Stevenson himself. Confident he's the best in the division, Stevenson directly challenged Davis to prove it in the ring.
Oh, who will win in this fight? Jake Paul or Tank Davis? It's a legit question. And I actually want to really hear your thoughts on who do you think is going to win. Because I know what Vegas is saying, but I want to know what you think. You got
Personally, I think Tank too little, bro.
Yo,
I think Tank too little.
I'm so glad you have a brain on your fucking shoulder.
I think Tank too little.
I said, bro.
I think Tank's too little. That's what I'm saying. That weight class is for a reason.
Davis
that weight class is for a reason.
5'5", 135 pounds. Jake Paul is 6 feet, 205 pounds.
That's what I'm saying.
Dog.
He's too
6'1",
little.
205. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, but Tank going, it only takes one good punch. Yes, it takes one good punch when you're about the same size. There's a 60, 70 pound difference in weight in these people. I don't think nobody puts the physics in mind. Jake Paul gets punched in the face by dudes 200 pounds with all their might on a weekly basis. A 135-pound puncher, bro. If y'all remember the Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight, Conor walks around like 180 on the regular. He's like 5'9", 180. Mayweather's like 5'7", 145. That 30-pound, 20, 30-pound difference, bro, if you remember that fight, Mayweather was putting mittens on Conor. Guess what happened to Conor? He didn't hit the ground once.
No.
He lasted all 12 rounds getting hit with flurries. I'm talking about Mayweather was having his time. He's being cocky with it, hitting him with all kind of combos. And we're watching the last 3 rounds of that shit like, yo, knock him out. And you know what? He could not knock him out because Conor gets punched by people that are 170, 180 pounds on a regular. And just that 20, 30-pound difference, it was like impossible for him to do anything. And that's exactly what
Former heavyweight contender Eddie Chambers also warned Jake Paul ahead of his clash with Davis. He stressed that Paul's usual opponents haven't prepared him for someone with Davis's mix of speed, knockout power, and ring IQ. Chambers noted that Paul's previous wins came against older or inexperienced fighters, while Davis represents a completely different level of opposition. In Chambers' view, Paul must raise his game dramatically or risk being completely exposed by Davis's elite skills.